Alright, welcome back. It's been quite a few busy months, but here we are. Let's try to get some stuff done and let's also give you some updates. So before I start on this, just need to tell you guys, we are actually trying to make a video game. And I've been saying that like about 5-6 months ago. And the thing is, we stopped since then. We don't really have enough people to work. Most of us are busy. I mean, like, it's only 2 guys, but we're busy. So we do need help. Now, I asked Isolabs about what he wants and who he needs for help, and I also, personally speaking, do need help for codes. So we're looking for a team or people who are interested in making a team and making a game together. Now, in terms of coding, this is in C#, but if we have a lot of people that are also in C++ and C#, and we have a lot of people on the team, then we can make 2 different projects. If anyone's interested, do message down on the YouTube and we will go from there. What we really have is that upscalers right now are upgraded, especially the NVIDIA Streamline to the DS4 DLSS 4 enhanced imposter, where we used to have the old spherical and the new octahedral. When we look at the spherical one right here, which is this, when we see from around the mid area, you can see that the face is actually facing us, and then it slowly moves around, and there is a lot of artifacts as we're moving around. Now, the octahedral version works well for objects that are very sharp, like this object. So over here is the same thing, where we move around with the octahedral imposter. From far, you can see that there's barely any artifacts. Compare it with the circular imposter, you can see that there is some artifacts and movement issues that just don't look good with sharp objects. Other than that, we also have the Vox probe effect. We got some updates. We also have a resharpen update that basically makes things more crispier, especially in the sharpen. Indirect specular normalization, which is basically inside the GI settings in the main. Right here in the global illumination, if you see here, we have indirect specular where we can do normalization. And what it does, it basically makes sure that things that are supposed to be not lit stay not lit. Like, for example, under this chair where there's not supposed to be any light, it basically makes sure that things like these artifacts don't happen, so a little bit more realistic. Agility SDK, basically if you're running an old version of Windows 10 and you still want to use the DX12 features, you have it up to a certain type of build, which we already have here. Cloud rendering improvement. If I come back here and I have the cloud, let me remove this and add the night. As you can see, we do have a really nice sky. And if we decide to put clouds, normally what happens is they would merge into the night sky. And this also happened to be an error when we went into the object sky and we had to go into states and we had to add clouds of our own. Then we would have issues with the rendering. So now we have a little bit of rendering order and changes for this stuff. You can also do the rendering clouds order. So for example, right now you can't really see it, but basically when you have clouds inside the object sky right here, you can basically have a little bit of overlap over here where you can see that the clouds kind of like meld into the other clouds and they create this little effect. That's a few things that you have to like figure out and understand how it works. We also had a few rendering improvements. So one of them is projected light source shadow fix. Kind of wrote it all down here, and I will be copy pasting this onto the description so you can definitely see what else we have in terms of TLDRs. The next one is InGame UI framework with visual editor as an experimental, and we also have runtime editor alongside multiple widget updates. So how you do it is you go into the add-on, get this thing called toolkit add-on. Once you download the package or you purchase it for free, you download it, you have a certain version of the source code that you can get and just download it and have it with. Now for my case, I have a C#, very empty. There's nothing in this. What we do is we go into the packages, import packages up here, and then we click on the version that we want. Once we're done, we can see that there's nothing here yet. Close it to refresh it. What happens is you get it right here inside your window. So you click on UI designer, you get this little guy here. You can put it in the set window or you could just add it inside here. There's no issues. We create it, base it on a reference resolution, and then we have the same view. When we move around, you can see that the thing is moving. Right click inside here and then create, let's just say for example an element. We could just add it here, create button, and then we can modify the things over here, create whatever you like. Now that you have it, let's just say if you wanted to run it, you'll notice that it doesn't really run. You go inside the Unigine project, you go into the run, and then you add an argument. Now where would you find an argument? Basically right here, if you scroll down, it has documentation. In one of the documentation, it basically tells you to just write copy this line, add it inside here. Once you do that, you can see that the button and the slider exists in the runtime. We also have something called runtime editor, which is where you press F2 on your keyboard, you have the ability to edit things in runtime. You could check objects, you can move around here just to check what works, pause the game and pause the physics, and you have a few things that you can basically do. The next one's more for engineering and sim. I was lucky enough to have a certain .ply where we have it over here in the .pli setting. Then you go into your configurations, have the Gaussian splatting, and then inside your editor you just write this little argument, and then you run the editor. So there is a file called Gaussian, and once you have here, you have your .ply file. If we just click and drag it over here, we can see that the Gaussian item has been basically shown right there on the spot. Next up, optimization for VR and XR supporting, a little bit on the OpenXR, where we got more eye tracking support, dynamic stuff, mixed reality input, hand tracking, we got device connection support or updates, and then we got optimization for adaptives and HMDs, so new objects or new types of machines for VR are testable. Next, we do have a little bit of optimization and just regular optimization with general speeds, multi-threads, light rendering, clusters, RAM consumption, procedural mesh. So if you're making meshes on random, it is a lot faster now than it was before. Then there's also the DX12 memory allocation, which increases the usages for GPU RAM for simulation and real-time stuff. Another thing that we have inside this update is support for interfaces and abstract class alongside component access via name. Basically, for this example here, we have like 4 little things that we can make. One is the fact that we can just make regular code which doesn't have a component, like this iVehicle thing that I just made. We can see the iVehicle is nothing except a regular interface of an iVehicle. Let's say, for example, we have a car which basically requires a vehicle object. One is a vehicle and one is a car. The vehicle has a vehicle object component and an iTire object. So when we hover over the vehicle and we click on it, it tells us that it took the component that we need from inside here. Another one is component access by name. Now this is more easier for like abstract type of components where you want to add or remove components and stuff. Other than that, we do have some multi-threaded improvements and there's file system improvements, so we can use long file path and absolute file paths. So that's a little bit easier than trying to get some stuff working, and we use it using this little function. Also, we also have streamlined, password protected and compressed archives. So if we have UNG packages or anything that's more password protected based on Unigine type of formatting, then they're easily read by the editor. Other than that, we have a lot of updates on engine improvements. Inside the Unigine editor itself, there's a search improvement, so you can search through indexing, faster shadows. We also have UI optimization, better UIs for physical shapes and joints. We also have a lot of material graph editor update, parameters, and create new objects without you having to create it and then link it together. We click and drag things around, clone things using Control Shift D and Control D if we just want to clone the object alone. Portal connections using create menu, condition based on the object. Click and drag the lines so you don't have to delete them and then reconnect them. Tracker updates, basically all the parameters, the crashes, bug fixing, selecting nodes, and everything that's done with trackers have been updated. I've written down everything it has in like TLDR. I have Unigine editor improvements, quite a few crash fixes, bug fixes, reset fixing, animation fixing, basically a lot of fixing. Sandworm tool, which basically gets upgraded every time we come here. Speed upgrades over here. Little fixes for the spider vision, IGG updates, and we also have a few extra templates. If we go into our little Unigine browser and if we go to samples and we pick on a sample, you can basically install the sample. So I have one for C++, and when you install it, downloads it right here into your projects folder, and you can enter it and edit it based on your IDE and editor. We also got a lot of new samples. My most favorite sample right now is basically the socket sample that we have here, the UDP and the TCP sockets. So one of the things that network engineers always kind of have like issues with is UDP and TCP sockets and how to set it up on an engine, and these guys were nice enough to help us out. This is the receiver and this is the sender. Every time we move something over here, the receiver also moves in that view. As for TCP, if you had a messaging service, so let's just make this as a service and make these two as a client. As you can see, the server has accepted a chat client, and then if we add another one, we got another client into this. We can see we got a message from another client where they said hello and hi, and this is sending in order. Be sure to look into it. And other than that, we also have an extra amount of samples, and then we also have a little bit of documentation for this update, and then we can go through it over and over again. I wrote it all down. I will get you guys a lot of information and yes, if you guys are interested in making the game, just know that I am looking. And if you guys are interested, even if you have no experience, there's no issues. Join us and we will definitely get you guys involved. And I hope you guys have a nice day and we will see each other later. All right, goodbye.